It was a normal Tuesday morning when everything changed. The sun rose as usual, painting the sky with soft pink and orange hues. People all over the world woke up, made their coffee, and started their daily routines. Little did they know that this ordinary day would soon become the most extraordinary day in human history. At exactly 9:17 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time, every electronic device on Earth, from smartphones to supercomputers, suddenly stopped working. Screens went black, and an eerie silence fell over cities as the constant hum of technology vanished. For a few moments, the world held its breath, confused and uncertain. Then they appeared. Massive ships, each the size of a small city, materialized in the skies above every major capital on Earth. Their sleek metallic surfaces gleamed in the sunlight, casting long shadows over the stunned populations below. The ships hovered silently, their presence alone enough to send waves of panic through the watching crowds. In New York, a young woman named Sarah stood frozen in Times Square, her eyes fixed on the enormous craft above. Around her, people screamed and ran, but she couldn't move. It was as if her feet were glued to the ground. "This can't be real," she whispered to herself, but the shadow looming over the city told her otherwise. Meanwhile, in a small village in rural India, an old farmer named Raj dropped his tools in the field as he saw the alien ship appear over the distant city. He had never believed in such things, but now, faced with undeniable proof, he felt a mix of fear and awe wash over him. As the initial shock began to wear off, governments around the world scrambled to respond. Military jets were scrambled, only to find their systems failing as they approached the alien vessels. World leaders gathered in emergency meetings, trying desperately to form a plan, but they were as helpless as everyone else. Just when the tension had reached a breaking point, it happened. A beam of light shot down from the ship hovering over the United Nations building in New York. Within this beam, a figure began to take shape. Tall, imposing, with skin that shimmered like polished metal and eyes that glowed an unnatural purple, the alien materialized before the gathered crowd. It raised a hand, and suddenly, every working speaker and screen on Earth crackled to life. The alien's voice boomed out, speaking in perfect English with an accent that seemed to contain echoes of every human language. "People of Earth," the alien began, its voice a mix of authority and disdain. "I am Zix Thor the Merciless, Supreme Commander of the Galactic Armada. Your planet now belongs to us. Surrender immediately, and you may be allowed to live as our servants. Resist, and face annihilation." The world collectively held its breath. In the White House, the President of the United States clenched his fists, torn between the desire to fight and the need to protect his people. In Beijing, the Chinese leadership debated furiously about their next move. In a small apartment in London, a group of university students huddled around a battery-powered radio, listening in disbelief. Back in Times Square, Sarah finally found her voice. "We can't just give up," she said to no one in particular. A man standing nearby, his suit disheveled and his tie askew, turned to her with wide eyes. "But what can we do against that?" he asked, pointing at the looming ship. Sarah shook her head. "I don't know," she admitted, "but humans have faced impossible odds before. We've survived ice ages, plagues, and our own destructive nature. We can't give up now." Her words, spoken softly, seemed to ripple through the crowd. People who had been panicking moments before now stood straighter, looking at each other with newfound determination. As the alien ultimatum echoed across the globe, something unexpected began to happen. Instead of descending into chaos, humanity started to unite. Old rivalries were forgotten as nations reached out to each other, sharing information and resources. Scientists worked around the clock, trying to understand the alien technology. Ordinary people opened their homes to strangers, sharing food and comfort in the face of the unknown. In the days that followed, the world watched and waited. The alien ships remained in position, a constant reminder of the threat looming over them. But as hours turned into days, a curious thing happened. The initial fear began to give way to something else: curiosity, determination, and a stubborn refusal to give in. Zix Thor, watching from his command ship, grew increasingly frustrated. He had expected the humans to crumble quickly, to beg for mercy or lash out in futile aggression. Instead, they were adapting, organizing, preparing. Little did Zix Thor know, his greatest challenge was yet to come. For in the face of this cosmic threat, humanity was about to reveal its greatest strength, a strength that no alien commander could have predicted or understood. The stage was set for a confrontation that would change the course of galactic history, all because of a misunderstanding about what truly makes a fearsome beast. Days turned into weeks, and the alien ships continued to loom over Earth's major cities. The world held its breath, waiting for Zix Thor's next move. In his massive command ship, the alien leader paced back and forth, his metallic skin glinting in the artificial light. "Why haven't they surrendered?" Zix Thor growled, his purple eyes flashing with anger. His second in command, a shorter alien named Crix, nervously tapped on a glowing screen. "Sir," Crix said, "it seems the humans are adapting. They're working together, sharing resources. Our scans show increased activity in their scientific facilities." Zix Thor slammed his fist on a nearby console, causing Crix to jump. "Impossible. No species has ever resisted us for this long. These humans are proving to be more troublesome than we thought." Meanwhile, on Earth, humanity was indeed adapting. In a secret underground lab in Geneva, scientists from around the world worked tirelessly to understand the alien technology. Dr. Emily Chen, a brilliant physicist from China, had made a breakthrough. "Look at this," she said, pointing to a complex diagram on a holographic screen. Her colleagues gathered around, their faces a mix of excitement and confusion. "If I'm right," Dr. Chen continued, "the alien ships use a form of energy we've never seen before. But I think we might be able to disrupt it." As hope began to grow on Earth, Zix Thor's patience was wearing thin. He called his top generals for a meeting. "The time for waiting is over," he announced, his voice echoing in the vast chamber. "We must show these humans the true might of our empire. It's time to unleash our secret weapon." The generals murmured among themselves. One of them, a battle-scarred veteran named Kraz, spoke up. "Sir, are you sure? The beast has never failed us, but using it on an inhabited planet, the destruction could be catastrophic." Zix Thor's eyes narrowed. "Are you questioning my orders, Kraz?" The general quickly lowered his gaze. "No, sir. Of course not." "Good," Zix Thor said with a cruel smile. "Prepare the beast. We launch in one Earth rotation." As the aliens made their preparations, Earth continued its own. In New York, Sarah, the young woman who had stood defiant in Times Square, had become a symbol of hope. She traveled the city, helping organize community support groups and spreading a message of unity. "We're all in this together," she told a crowd gathered in Central Park. "Alien invasion or not, we're still human. We still care for each other. That's our strength." Her words resonated with people around the world. From the favelas of Rio to the streets of Tokyo, humans came together, sharing food, shelter, and hope. In Washington, D.C., world leaders gathered for an emergency summit. The U.S. President, a tall woman with steel-gray hair, addressed the assembly. "We stand at the brink," she said, her voice firm. "But we stand together. Our scientists are making progress. Our people are united. We will not go quietly into the night." As she spoke, alarms suddenly blared. Screens around the room lit up with urgent messages. The alien ships were moving. High above the Earth, Zix Thor gave the command, "Unleash the beast." A massive pod detached from his ship, slowly descending towards the planet below. News of its approach spread quickly, causing panic in some areas. But in many places, people stood their ground, determined to face whatever was coming. In the Geneva lab, Dr. Chen and her team worked frantically. "We're close," she muttered, her fingers flying over a keyboard. "Just a little more time." The pod entered Earth's atmosphere, its outer shell glowing red-hot. It streaked across the sky, visible to millions of watching eyes. Finally, with a thunderous impact, it crashed into an empty field just outside of London. For a moment, everything was still. Then, with a hiss of escaping gas, the pod began to open. Zixthor watched from his ship, a triumphant grin on his face. "Now, humans," he said, "you will know true fear. You will beg for mercy. You will." His words were cut short as the first images from the crash site appeared on his screen. His purple eyes widened in disbelief. On Earth, a crowd had cautiously approached the smoking pod. As its door fully opened, they tensed, ready for anything. But what emerged was not what anyone expected. A small furry creature hopped out of the pod. It had 6 legs, large, innocent eyes, and soft fur that seemed to shimmer with all the colors of the rainbow. It looked around curiously, then made a sound that was somewhere between a purr and a chirp. For a moment, there was silence. Then, from somewhere in the crowd, a voice called out, "What a cute puppy!" The tension broke. People began to laugh, some with relief, others with genuine amusement. A young boy stepped forward, holding out his hand to the alien creature. It sniffed his fingers, then nuzzled against him affectionately. In his ship, Zixthor stared at the scene in horror. "No," he whispered. "No, no, no, this can't be happening." But it was. The beast, the most feared creature in the galaxy, the secret weapon of the alien armada, was being cuddled and petted by human children. And as news of the fearsome beast spread around the world, something unexpected began to happen. People started to laugh, not just in London, but everywhere. The fear that had gripped humanity for weeks began to fade, replaced by a new feeling: hope. The beast had been unleashed, but it wasn't what anyone had expected. And in that moment of surprise and laughter, the tide of the invasion began to turn. The world watched in amazement as images of the alien beast spread across every working screen and device. Instead of the terrifying monster everyone had expected, they saw a creature that looked like a cross between a puppy, a kitten, and a rainbow. In the field outside London, the situation had turned into something resembling a petting zoo. Children laughed as they stroked the creature's soft, color-changing fur. Adults, initially cautious, found themselves drawn to its large, expressive eyes and friendly demeanor. A young girl with pigtails and a missing front tooth giggled as the alien creature licked her hand. "It tickles," she exclaimed. "Can we keep it?" Her mother, still looking a bit shocked, replied, I don't think that's a good idea, sweetie. We don't know what it eats or, well, anything about it." Meanwhile, scientists who had rushed to the scene were completely baffled. Dr. James Thompson, a renowned xenobiologist, scratched his head as he observed the creature. "It's unlike anything we've ever encountered," he muttered, scribbling notes furiously. "Its biology seems to defy our understanding of, well, everything." As the creature continued to charm everyone around it, news crews from around the world arrived, broadcasting live footage of the unexpected visitor. In New York, Sarah watched the scenes unfold on a giant screen in Times Square. A smile spread across her face as she saw children playing with the alien beast. "See," she said to the man next to her, the sane one who had been so afraid before. "We were right not to give up hope. Even their worst isn't so bad after all." The man nodded, a look of wonder on his face. "I never thought I'd say this, but that alien is actually kind of cute." High above the earth, Zixthor was having a very different reaction. He paced back and forth in his command center, purple eyes flashing with rage. "This is impossible," he roared, causing his subordinates to cower. "The Flufficus Maximus is the most feared predator in the galaxy. How can these primitive humans be petting it?" Crix, his second in command, nervously cleared his throat. "Sir, if I may, our records show that the Flufficus Maximus has never actually been used in combat before. Its fearsome reputation is based on ancient legends and some rather exaggerated marketing materials from the weapons department. Zixthor turned slowly to face Crix, his expression dangerous. "Are you telling me," he said in a low voice, "that our ultimate weapon is nothing more than an oversized space hamster?" Crix gulped. "Well, sir, when you put it that way." Back on Earth, the situation was evolving rapidly. As footage of the friendly alien creature spread, the mood around the world began to shift. The fear and tension that had gripped humanity for weeks started to give way to curiosity and even amusement. In the secret lab in Geneva, Dr. Chen and her team watched the live feeds with a mix of scientific interest and bewilderment. "This changes everything," Dr. Chen said, her eyes glued to the screen. "If their ultimate weapon is this harmless, maybe we've been overestimating their threat level." Her colleague, Dr. Ahmed, nodded in agreement. "It's fascinating. The creature seems to be empathic. Look how it responds to the children's emotions. This could revolutionize our understanding of extraterrestrial life." As scientists debated and analyzed, ordinary people around the world were having their own reactions. Social media, which had been filled with panic and dire predictions, now exploded with memes and jokes about the terrifying alien beast. In a small cafe in Paris, a group of friends laughed as they scrolled through their phones. "Look at this one," a young man said, showing his friends a picture of the alien creature photoshopped to wear a beret and hold a baguette. The caption read, "The real French invasion." His friends burst into laughter. For the first time in weeks, the mood was light, almost celebratory. Even world leaders found themselves struggling to maintain their serious demeanors. In a press conference, the British Prime Minister had to pause several times to compose himself as he discussed the potential threat of the alien creature. "We are, of course, taking all necessary precautions," he said, his lips twitching. "But I must admit, the situation is not quite what we expected." As day turned to night, the alien creature, which had been unofficially named Fluffy by the internet, was carefully moved to a secure facility for observation. But videos of its playful antics continued to circulate, bringing smiles to faces around the world. In his ship, Zixthor was facing a full-scale mutiny. His crew, having seen the footage from Earth, were questioning everything they had been told about their mission. "But sir," one brave alien said, "if the humans aren't afraid of the Flufficus Maximus, what's the point of this invasion? They seem nice." Zixthor opened his mouth to deliver a scathing reply, but found he had no answer. For the first time in his long career of galactic conquest, he was completely out of his depth. As the alien ships hovered silently in the sky, no longer seeming quite as threatening, humanity went to bed that night with a new sense of hope. They had faced the alien commander's ultimate weapon and found it to be an adorable, fluffy friend. The beast had been unleashed, but instead of fear, it had brought laughter. And in that laughter, humanity found its greatest strength, the ability to find joy and connection, even in the face of the unknown. Little did they know, this was just the beginning of a cosmic adventure that would change both human and alien societies forever. In the days that followed the historic meeting in Geneva, the world witnessed a transformation unlike any in human history. The feared alien invasion had turned into the galaxy's most unexpected cultural exchange program. Zixthor, once the fearsome alien commander, now found himself at the center of a media frenzy. Everywhere he went, humans wanted to take selfies with him, a concept that both confused and intrigued the alien leader. "I don't understand," Zixthor said to Sarah during a televised interview. "Why do you want pictures with someone who tried to conquer your world?" Sarah smiled. "Because it's fun. And honestly, you're kind of cute when you're not trying to be scary." Zixthor's purple skin flushed a deeper shade. "Cute? Me? Impossible." But he couldn't hide the pleased expression on his face. Meanwhile, Fluffy had become a global sensation. The Flufficus Maximus, once the most feared creature in the alien empire, was now the star of countless memes, videos, and even a hit song called Fluffy Wuffy Alien Puppy. Dr. Chen and her team continued their research, making breakthrough after breakthrough as they studied the alien creature. Its ability to change color isn't just for show, she explained during a press conference. It's a highly advanced form of communication. Fluffy doesn't just understand emotions, it can project them. This discovery led to a series of experiments that left even the aliens amazed. In one test, Fluffy was introduced to a room full of arguing politicians. Within minutes, the creature's fur had cycled through a rainbow of colors, and the politicians found themselves agreeing on issues they'd been fighting over for years. "It's remarkable," one senator said, looking dazed. "I suddenly understood exactly how my colleague felt. It was like empathy on steroids." As news of these experiments spread, people began to wonder, could Fluffy be the key to world peace? But it wasn't just Fluffy that was changing the world. The aliens, exposed to human culture for the first time, were experiencing their own revolution. Crix, Zixthor's second-in-command, had become obsessed with human music. "Have you heard this rock and roll?" he asked excitedly during a meeting. "It makes me want to move in ways that are probably illegal on our homeworld." Other aliens discovered the joy of human food. One alien scientist was found crying tears of joy after tasting ice cream for the first time. "It's cold, but it's sweet, but it's creamy," he exclaimed. "How is this possible? It defies all logic." Human pets, particularly cats and dogs, fascinated the aliens. Many of them couldn't believe that humans voluntarily shared their homes with animals. "You mean you just let them sleep on your bed?" one alien asked, looking scandalized and intrigued at the same time. As the aliens learned more about human culture, humans were equally curious about alien life. Schools around the world added extraterrestrial studies to their curriculums. Children debated whether they wanted to be astronauts or diplomats when they grew up, dreaming of exploring the galaxy. But amidst all the excitement, there were still challenges to overcome. Some humans remained skeptical of the aliens' intentions, while some aliens struggled to adapt to Earth's customs and environment. One day, during a tour of New York City, Zixthor had a panic attack when he saw a pug. "It's another Flufficus Maximus," he screamed, diving behind a hot dog stand. It took Sarah and several others nearly an hour to convince him that the pug was just a very squished Earth dog and not a deadly predator. Despite these hiccups, the overall mood was one of optimism and curiosity. Humanity had faced its greatest fear, an alien invasion, and found friendship instead of war. The power of cuteness, embodied by Fluffy, had literally changed the course of galactic history. Scientists around the world worked tirelessly to understand and replicate the Flufficus Maximus's empathic abilities. They dreamed of a future where conflicts could be resolved not through force, but through a deeper understanding fostered by creatures like Fluffy. As for Fluffy itself, the alien creature seemed perfectly content with its new role as intergalactic peace ambassador. It spent its days divided between important scientific studies and playing fetch with anyone willing to throw a ball. One evening, as the sun set over a changed Earth, Sarah sat in a park, watching Fluffy play with a group of children. Alien and human kids chased the creature, all laughing in the universal language of joy. Zixthor, looking more relaxed than Sarah had ever seen him, sat down beside her. "You know," he said, his voice thoughtful, "when we first came to your world, we thought we were the advanced civilization. We had faster-than-light travel, energy weapons, and the feared Flufficus Maximus. But now I see, we had so much to learn." Sarah nodded. "And we're learning from you too. I guess that's the beauty of it all. We're different, but we can still understand each other." As they watched Fluffy change colors in response to the children's laughter, Zixthor chuckled. "Who would have thought," he mused, "that the key to intergalactic peace would be a creature we thought was a terrifying beast, but you saw as a cute puppy." Sarah laughed. Well, sometimes the universe has a sense of humor. And sometimes a little cuteness can go a long way. As night fell and stars began to twinkle in the sky, stars that now held the promise of friendly worlds rather than potential threats, Sarah couldn't help but feel excited for the future. A future where the power of cuteness had opened up the entire galaxy for exploration, friendship, and understanding. 6 months had passed since the day Fluffy had changed the course of human history. The world had transformed in ways no one could have predicted. Today was a special day. The first official intergalactic peace summit was about to begin. The summit was held in a newly constructed dome in the heart of New York City. The building was a marvel of human and alien engineering, its crystal walls shimmering with colors that seemed to dance in the sunlight. Inside, delegates from Earth and various alien worlds mingled, creating a scene that would have been unimaginable just a year ago. Humans in suits chatted with aliens of all shapes and sizes. In one corner, a group of tentacled beings were trying to figure out how to use chopsticks, much to the amusement of their human companions. Sarah, now serving as Earth's official ambassador of interspecies relations, stood at the podium, ready to give the opening speech. Beside her was Zix Thor, looking nervous but excited in his new role as the alien delegation's lead diplomat. Friends, Earthlings, honored guests from across the stars, Sarah began, her voice carrying across the hushed room. A year ago, we stood on the brink of war. Today, we stand united in peace, thanks to an unexpected hero. On cue, Fluffy bounded onto the stage, its rainbow fur glowing brightly. The audience broke into applause and cheers, some of the aliens making sounds that translator devices rendered as awe. Fluffy, or the Flufficus Maximus, as our alien friends know it, taught us a valuable lesson. Sarah continued. Sometimes, what we fear most is simply something we don't understand. And understanding begins with openness, curiosity, and yes, even a little cuteness. As Sarah spoke, Fluffy moved around the stage, its colors changing in harmony with her words. The effect was mesmerizing, and even those who had seen it before found themselves captivated. Zix Thor stepped up to the podium next. When we came to Earth, we thought we were superior, he said, his voice humble. We had technology, weapons, and what we thought was the most fearsome creature in the galaxy. But you humans showed us something far more powerful: kindness, adaptability, and the courage to face the unknown with open arms. Sometimes literally, he added, remembering the little girl who had hugged him. The audience laughed, the sound of human and alien voices blending in a unique harmony. As the summit progressed, it became clear that this was more than just a diplomatic meeting. It was a celebration of diversity, a testament to the power of understanding, and a glimpse into a future where the boundaries between worlds were fading. In one session, Dr. Chen presented the latest findings on Fluffy's empathic abilities. We've discovered that the Flufficus Maximus doesn't just reflect emotions, she explained, as Fluffy demonstrated by changing colors. It actually harmonizes them, creating a field of emotional resonance that promotes understanding and cooperation. The implications were staggering. Already, prototypes of empathy enhancers, based on Fluffy's biology, were being tested in conflict zones around the world, with promising results. In another room, alien chefs worked alongside human counterparts, creating dishes that combined flavors from across the galaxy. The result was a culinary explosion that had food critics raving and diners lining up for blocks. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. Cultural misunderstandings still occurred, sometimes with humorous results. During one panel discussion, an alien delegate accidentally activated the fire sprinklers when they mistook the red alarm for a snack dispenser. As humans and aliens alike were doused with water, tension filled the air for a moment. Until Fluffy jumped into a puddle, splashing everyone and turning the incident into an impromptu water party. As the day wore on, Sarah found a quiet moment to step outside onto a balcony overlooking the city. New York had changed, with sleek alien structures now nestled between skyscrapers, and flying vehicles zipping between buildings. Zixthor joined her, looking out at the view. "It's beautiful," he said softly. "I never thought I'd find another world as amazing as my own. But Earth is special." Sarah nodded. "It's not just Earth that's special. It's what we're creating together. A future where differences are celebrated, not feared." Just then, a small commotion broke out inside. They turned to see Fluffy leading a conga line of humans and aliens through the main hall, its fur flashing like a disco ball. Sarah and Zixthor looked at each other and burst out laughing. "Well," Sarah said, wiping tears of mirth from her eyes, "I guess that's one way to encourage interspecies mingling." As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the city, the summit reached its climax. Representatives from Earth and a dozen alien worlds gathered to sign the first intergalactic cooperation treaty. The document, written in multiple languages including some that hadn't existed on Earth a year ago, laid the groundwork for peaceful exploration, cultural exchange, and mutual defense against any threats that might lurk in the depths of space. As world leaders and alien representatives took turns signing, Fluffy sat in the center of the stage, its fur cycling through a kaleidoscope of colors. It was a powerful symbol of the journey they had all taken, from fear to friendship, from misunderstanding to harmony. The summit ended with a spectacular display of fireworks, designed by human and alien artists. As the sky lit up with shapes and colors never before seen on Earth, Sarah felt a sense of hope and excitement for the future. The diplomatic breakthrough they had achieved was just the beginning. A new era of galactic cooperation was dawning, and humanity was ready to take its place among the stars. 5 years had passed since the historic Intergalactic Peace Summit. The Earth had changed in ways that would have seemed impossible just a few years ago. Alien technology had helped solve many of humanity's biggest problems. Clean energy was now abundant. Diseases that once plagued millions were easily curable, and the first human-alien joint colony on Mars was thriving. Today was a special day, the grand opening of the Intergalactic Cultural Center in the heart of what used to be Central Park. The building was a marvel of architecture, its shape constantly shifting like a living organism, yet somehow blending perfectly with the surrounding greenery. Sarah, now the head of the United Earth Diplomatic Court, stood at the entrance, greeting visitors from a dozen different worlds. Beside her was Zixthor, who had become one of her closest friends and allies in building this new galactic community. "Can you believe it?" Sarah said, watching as a group of squid-like aliens floated by, chatting excitedly with human teenagers about the latest intergalactic pop music. 5 years ago, you were trying to conquer us. Now look at us." Zixthor chuckled, his purple skin crinkling around his eyes. "I still maintain that our invasion would have been successful if not for one small, fluffy problem." As if on cue, a familiar rainbow-colored blur zipped past them, followed by a group of laughing children, both human and alien. Fluffy, it seemed, had appointed itself the official greeter of the new center. Inside the building, the scenes were even more remarkable. In one room, a virtual reality exhibition allowed visitors to experience life on different planets. In another, a culinary exchange program was in full swing, with chefs from across the galaxy sharing their most exotic recipes. Dr. Chen, now leading the xenobiology department at the newly established Galactic University, was giving a lecture on the latest discoveries about Fluffy's species. "We found entire planets where Flufficus maximus is the dominant life form," she explained to a rapt audience. "These worlds are essentially giant, living supercomputers of empathy. We're just beginning to understand the implications." But it wasn't just Earth that had changed. The influence of humanity had spread across the stars, often in unexpected ways. On Zixthor's homeworld, a planet once known for its strict military culture, cuddle parties had become the latest craze. Tough alien warriors who once prided themselves on their stoicism now competed to see who could give the best hugs. In the Andromeda Galaxy, A civilization that communicated entirely through complex mathematical equations had discovered human poetry. Their cities now resonated with algorithmic interpretations of Shakespeare and Maya Angelou. Even the fearsome Vorknecht Empire, once the terror of 3 galaxies, had undergone a transformation. After a human diplomat introduced them to cat videos, the entire species had devoted itself to creating the ultimate feline paradise, converting warships into giant floating cat trees. As Sarah walked through the cultural center, she couldn't help but marvel at how far they'd come. In one corner, she saw a group of young aliens intensely focused on a holographic display. As she approached, she realized they were playing an intergalactic version of basketball, with teams made up of species from across the known universe. "Hey, Ambassador Sarah," one of the alien youths called out. "Want to join? We need someone who can explain these free throws. They make no sense." Sarah laughed and stepped in to help, her heart warming at the sight of such easy camaraderie between beings from different worlds. Later that evening, as the grand opening celebration was in full swing, Sarah found a quiet moment to step out onto a balcony overlooking the city. The New York skyline was a breathtaking blend of human and alien architecture, with anti-gravity vehicles weaving between buildings and holographic advertisements featuring celebrities from a dozen different species. Zixthor joined her, along with Fluffy, who curled up at their feet, its fur glowing softly in the twilight. "You know," Zixthor said, his voice thoughtful, "when we first came to Earth, we thought we were bringing advanced civilization to a primitive world. But you humans taught us something far more valuable than any technology." Sarah raised an eyebrow. "Oh, and what's that?" "The power of embracing the unknown," Zixthor replied. "Your species faced potential annihilation, and you responded with curiosity, adaptability, and kindness. That's a strength we never understood before." Sarah smiled, reaching down to scratch Fluffy behind its ears, or what they assumed were ears. "Biologists were still debating that point. I think we all had a lot to learn," she said. "And we're still learning. That's the beauty of it." Just then, a burst of light caught their attention. Looking up, they saw a massive holographic display in the sky, a live feed from the first joint human-alien expedition to the edge of the known universe. The ship, fittingly named HMS Fluffy, was about to make its first jump into uncharted space. As they watched the historic moment unfold, Sarah felt a surge of excitement and hope for the future. The universe, once a place of fear and potential threats, had become a vast playground of discovery and friendship. "So," she said, turning to Zixthor with a grin, "ready for our next adventure?" The alien commander, once her enemy and now one of her closest friends, nodded enthusiastically. "Always," he replied. "As long as we don't run into anything too cute. I'm not sure my species can handle any more adorable revelations." As they laughed together, Fluffy let out a contented purr, its fur cycling through a rainbow of colors that seemed to reflect the bright, diverse future spreading out before them. The age of fear was over. A new era of galactic cooperation had begun, all thanks to a misunderstanding about a fluffy alien beast that turned out to be humanity's cutest ally.